Have you ever realized that someone who left your life is somehow still living in your mind? Not because they are physically present, but because every decision you make is filtered through what they said about you. You hesitate because they called you incapable. You hide because they made you feel unworthy. You settle because they convinced you that this is all you'd ever deserve. And without realizing it, you've handed them the pen. But today, I want to ask you one question. Who gave them permission to write the ending of a story that God is still writing? Welcome back to Confidence Unlocked. Today, we are taking back the pen. Yes, we are. So one of the most painful things about heartbreaks isn't always the leaving. It's the believing that you'll never be enough, that you'd always be abandoned, believing that you never recover, or that because someone couldn't see your value, it must not exist. Pain just has a way of becoming a narrator. It just whispers, "Oh, see, you're too much. You're too emotional. You always fail. You'll never be loved the right way." And if you're not careful, we begin quoting our wounds more than we quote God's promises. Have you noticed how quickly we remember criticisms but struggle to remember compliments? One careless sentence can stay with us for years. One betrayal can make us suspicious of every good thing that follows. And one disappointment can convince us to stop expecting miracles. But then I've been learning something lately, that just because someone had access to your life doesn't mean they had the authority over your identity. Those are two completely different things. Imagine reading a novel and stopping in the middle because one chapter became painful. You would never know how redemption unfolds. Yet so many of us have accepted a temporary chapter as our permanent identity. Maybe someone rejected you. They lied. They walked away. They chose someone else. They underestimated you. Or they broke promises they swore they would keep. Those things happened. Life happens. They are real, yeah. They hurt, I know. But they are events. And they are not your identity. Your identity was never created by someone's opinion. It was established by God, who knew you before anyone else knew your name. People can misunderstand you, misuse you. People can leave you, but they cannot cancel God's purpose for your life. That is for sure. The hardest part about healing here is realizing that the prison door has been open for a long time, but your mind is still sitting inside the cell. Freedom begins the moment you actually stop asking, "What did they think of me?" and just focus on what God says about you. Maybe today looks like forgiving yourself for believing the lie. Maybe today looks like applying for the job, starting the business, going back, to school, making that phone call, laughing again without guilt, or even trusting again without shame. Not because what happened didn't matter, but because it doesn't get to decide who you become. You deserve to meet the version of yourself that wasn't built around survival. Before I go, I want you to picture your life as a book. Some pages have tears on them. Some chapters don't make sense. They don't make sense at all. And some paragraphs still hurt to read. But the author hasn't put down the pen. They keep going. So don't let a painful chapter convince you that your story is over. And don't let the person who wounded you become the narrator of the life God is redeeming. Every time an old light tries to introduce itself, answer it with this simple truth. You may have been part of my story, but you are not the author of it. Yeah, you never will be.